Yeah, market news now. Most Asian stock markets extended a global rally on optimism. The Federal Reserve would pause its rate hikes this month after a mixed U.S. jobs report, while oil jumped after Saudi Arabia pledged big output cuts. Oil prices rose after Saudi Arabia announced it would cut its output to 9 million barrels per day in July from about 10 million barrels per day in May, the biggest reduction in years. The voluntary cut is on top of a broader deal by the organization of the petroleum exporting countries and allies, including Russia, to limit supply into 2024 as the OPEC Plus producer group seeks to boost flagging oil prices. To talk to us about the latest when it comes to the markets, we are joined by Bright Khumalo, who's from Vestec Asset Management. Bright, thank you so much for your time. Take us through what's driving markets right now.
Yes, I mean, there's a lot currently happening in the markets, but I can finally say good news is good news because some of the economic indicators that come out of China and in the US, turn the markets higher. And that's what we like to see. This Goldilocks situation where good news is bad news is sort of confusing for, the man on the street and obviously some investors as well.
Let's talk about the bits that are confusing, especially when it comes to those U.S. NonFarm Payrolls report, because they looked a little bit mixed in the sense that you've got the unemployment rate up 3.7%, yet the number of jobs is soaring. How did the market interpret that NonFarm Payrolls data?
Yeah, it's a bit of a head scratcher, right? So like you're saying, the U.S. added about 339,000 new jobs, which was way more than expected. Hence, the market reacted positively. But and the unemployment number, you said, also increased to 3.7%. I'm going to explain the difference, right? So the unemployment rate, which is the one up 3.7% to 3.7%, is based on what's called the household survey, which goes to people's households and ask individuals about their job statuses, right? And then the non-farm payroll data is based on established survey, which surveys corporations, so big companies like Apple, Amazon, and the rest, and asking them, and different industries, and asking them how they see, the numbers of jobs created by them, obviously, by placing people in certain positions. So that's where the divergence, comes from. The definitions are very different. So let's not get too excited if the two don't match. It's because they're constructed differently.
On that note, does it provide any comfort for the Fed, which is looking for a cooler jobs market?
Correct. So if the market is going higher, it basically tells us that, it confirms the fact that maybe, a pause now this month is going through, and maybe next month they'll start looking into, increasing those interest rates again, or maybe even, I don't know, keeping them the same or going the other direction. But that's a problem of, next month. So the month of June is cleared in terms of interest rates increases at least.
Let's bring things down locally and look at Oceana, which released their interim figures. The share price was up about 5% earlier. What did you make of their numbers?
Yeah, of course. I mean, these were strong results, beating expectations on all fronts. I was seeing the revenue number increasing north of 20% as, the main brand, which is Lucky Star, saying over 5 million cartons, were sold there due to very, very strong demand, in the South African economy. But that makes sense. If you look at the South African economy, it's not doing all that well. Disposable income, I don't even want to call it disposable income now. It's just, your weltering salary essentially can buy less goods. So you tend to be very focused on actually the items you're going to buy, and you're going to be very price sensitive. And instead of buying fresh fish, the canned alternative sort of makes sense. So, and these guys obviously make, mackerel, pilchards, and all sorts of, canned fish. The good news is that the company is capitalizing on the situation. They're increasing their inventories about 87%, which is good, I guess. And if you look at, on the financial side, the dividend, they increased about 130 cents, which, doubled last year's dividend around this time. And, I don't know. Everything seems to be going well for them, and the portion that they're exporting obviously brings more rands due to the weakening rand against the US dollar. But management did say that there's also an issue because the weaker rand is also hitting them somewhere, but that's offset by the stronger demand here locally in South Africa. So.
Let's talk about SA banks for a moment, because if we're anticipating high interest rates, and we've seen SA banks benefit from that endowment income, with high interest rates, sometimes we are going to likely see increases in impairments. Do you see that benefit between the increase in endowment income and an increase in impairments narrowing as we stay higher, I suppose, for longer in South Africa?
Look, the banks can only squeeze, so much profits from the South African consumer. So if interest rates keep going up, at some point, it's going to reach an inflection point where it's no longer going down to bottom line, like you're saying. It's going to go to defaults, which is, the provisions that you're talking about. So if you look at the current banking clients that are using these facilities, I would say they're the top end of the South African consumer. But even those people, at some point, they run out of rands and they start making decisions of maybe I don't need a bigger house. I'm gonna downgrade to a smaller house, and maybe I can afford my home. And those are the type of decisions that people are asking and talking about at Bryce, for example. So that is an option there. But in terms of increasing impairments, definitely it's heading that direction. Just keep an eye on those banking results and watch that impairment number very closely, or that provision number for that matter.
Right, so unfortunately we have run out of time. I would have loved to ask more questions related to what else people are talking about at Bryce in relation to the South African economy, but we have run out of time. That is Bright Khumalo, who's from Vestec Asset Management.